So, hello there, Pete. I'm really happy that you found the time to come over, and it's really nice to actually see who wrote that article.
Hey, it's awesome to be here.
Yeah, it's really sort of, it's something that resonated with everyone. Actually, I mean, in a bad or in a good way, I can't tell. You definitely have two extreme things, but what is for sure, you did not actually have people indifferent about what was going on and what you wrote. So you sort of, it resonated in some way with people. So I don't know, James, would you like to jump in, and do you have to say anything about the article if you read it? Or I take it from here and you can join later as you wish, because we have only James who is logged in and I can see that it's him. The other person who is viewing, I can't see him yet. So if you want to jump in, just let me know, James. Okay, so first of all, let's sort of discuss and understand what happened. I mean, we've been seeing what you wrote about, all this lifestyle design thing, all these Amazon best-selling. Authors around. Okay, now what about now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
So what I did was, since we're not recording this for the podcast, I just took out all the microphones and wires and everything. So hopefully nothing will happen anymore. So hi Art, welcome. So okay, so we start again, and I'll explain what's going on again. So basically, the link I dropped in down there, it's the Medium post that Pete Ross wrote about 10 days ago or something like that.
Yeah, well, I published it on Medium back in November, and I wrote it even a couple of months before that on my blog. So it's actually quite old. Okay. It was only because I published another post about Medium itself, and people found that post, and it just blew up, basically.
Oh, okay, because actually the first thing that I saw as a content done by you, it was this piece. So I don't know how I don't know who exactly shared it, but I've seen that in the same day over and over again in my Facebook timeline, shared by different people. So, I mean, honestly, the first time I ignored it, so I didn't really click and read it. I have to be honest. But then when I saw that it's coming out several times by different people and people I follow and like, I sort of, decided that, no, let's see what's going on. What is this about? So I checked it, I read it, and then I realized, like, okay, for once, there has been quite period of same type of content and same type of messages over and over again. And now I ended up reading something that was completely different. So It definitely resonated with many. It definitely didn't actually get different views. So most probably you have this polarized both sides who are debating again.
Oh yeah.
For and against the thing. So let's first of all understand it's been going on for a while, so it's not something that just happened, right? The things you're writing about, the lifestyle design, all those nice photos of people, from the back with the cocktail, with the laptop open, and you have the sea in front of you and all that stuff. It's become a cliche. It's something everyone wants to do. It's been preached as if that's what happens at the end. The bad part is that very often people say that it happens. I mean, they leave the impression that it happens overnight, although all of us know that it's not the case. So it's sort of, something that is sold to us as a shiny thing to follow. So since it's not something new, why did you decide to write about that? Like, what happened? Was it a cumulative effect, or, what happened? What made you actually sit down and write it in a pretty harsh form, like very intense, very angry way, and short, but very condensed? So what happened?
Yeah, so it's funny you say in such a harsh way. I got a fair few comments calling me extremely angry, bitter, all that kind of thing. When I write posts like that, it's sort of me just having fun because I take the filter off. I don't try and be nice and long and articulate for the audience. It's me just having fun and having a bit of a rant. So it's pretty funny that it got those sort of reactions. It was an accumulative effect because I have a lot of people on my friends list who are sort of early 20s. They're trying to do that sort of thing. 90% of them have been very unsuccessful in it, and they're wondering, why isn't this working? A couple of them have been successful, and the advice that they give out just pisses me right off, to be honest. One of them has actually said to other people, burn your bridges. That's the only way you'll be successful. And from someone who's got like a family, I'm responsible for a wife and child, telling me to burn my bridges when you're, early 20s and you don't have any responsibility is just the most ridiculous thing you could ever say to me. And there's a couple of others who they're doing okay, but they're putting out what I consider to be really crappy work. They've put out books on how to live this sort of lifestyle, and you look at them and some of the chapters just have links to other sites saying, oh, I don't know enough about this, here's a link to a site. It's like, that's not a book. If all you're going to do is link to other sites, then don't even write a book. You're just pushing late night commercial TV onto people in another format. So that's pretty much what did it for me. And, I've listened to James Altucher, his podcast a couple of times, and some other people, and they'll say stuff like, I just get an email list going. And it's like, okay, you guys got in first, and you built up a big email list. I want to say to them, do you have any idea how difficult it is to build up an email list right now? With everyone pushing content, everyone's trying to get into the game, and you're saying, just start an email list.
So many lead magnets, right? You just go and choose.
Yeah.
There are loads of them.
You can't open a site now without that pop-up.
Exactly. Hi, Art. Welcome.
Hi, Annie. Hi, Pete. I just was cruising around. I was cruising around your online presence there, Pete. You write some cool stuff, man. There's not just the lifestyle design, but I found a piece that was, I guess, on your blog, Why Art is Important for Its Own Sake. I mean, you are a thoughtful guy.
Thanks.
You're thinking about the big stuff. I mean, it really, sometimes when you peruse somebody's blog, you just go from the top to the bottom and say, okay, same stuff, good stuff, but I had to stop and look at your stuff and actually read some. So thanks for writing about what you care about.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I guess that's sort of why the whole lifestyle design and this clickbait listicle stuff irritates me so much. I'm probably a bit of a snob when it comes to writing because I write things that I care about rather than, just for page views and all that kind of thing.
What do you mean? You don't write to bring traffic into your site?
No, believe it or not, I write because I love to write.
You don't write to build your email list? That's
the thing. Now
that's why you don't have those photos with the laptop and the sea and the cocktail, you see? That's exactly.
And I don't like the beach that much anyway.
That's another way. Okay, so when that post blew up, I mean, you actually, I mean, especially that you weren't writing to bring traffic to your site, I guess you were pretty surprised to see so many people coming and reading that thing and then sharing it so many times. So eventually you got this big visibility. You had these two extreme feedbacks and comments about the thing. And you created a huge argument here. So we're here to understand what's going on. I mean, we know your site. Well, I mean, based on the past, I know what you're thinking about this. I want to see what Art is thinking about
that. I'm not a 20-something, so I've done the hard work. I've been in the enterprise, so I completely relate to it. I laughed my way through it. And I think that, the thing about the internet is that we, when we are unabashed about who we are, right, we let the world know. And so as I'm perusing the article and I scroll down, as Andy, you were saying that it went wild, almost 1,000 likes and, 500 shares or whatever the number is. Just below that, Pete has his Myers-Briggs, right? He's an INTJ. And so now I completely get him because I'm an ENTJ, but I'm on the borderline. I could just as well be an introvert as I am an extrovert. And so now when he writes, I understand why he writes, because he says that, how do you say it? It was just too cool. It was insights on business psychology and philosophy from an INTJ who probably thinks a bit too much. More of my work at, which is what you did in that article. Is exactly what you did on that article. You had enough. I'm sick and tired of, these 20-somethings who have done nothing, who have been out of high school for maybe 5 years, that are trying to tell you how to guide your life and be your light post. Amazing.
Well, yeah. So it's. I don't think there will be a big debate here because three of us seem to think the same way, actually. And I guess what I realized, I reread the thing again before coming to this blab, and I noticed something that I didn't notice in the very beginning when I read it the first time, where you say that people haven't even tried being in corporate for a long time enough before just tossing it away and deciding to go solo and do their own thing. And I guess I would go further with that. And I would say that although everyone praises entrepreneurship and everyone says that it's a great thing and everyone wants to become one, I truly believe that it's not for everyone. And it's not the right thing to do for everyone because it's... I think that it's a matter of choice. It's a matter of not even a lifestyle. It's a matter of choice of what is more important to you and how much you are ready to sacrifice for that. And yes.
So I'll be the foil for this because I do have an opinion now.
Okay.
And it's I was on Blab and I was talking about this the other day. There's an article that was first written in Fast Company magazine in 2012. And the title of the article was Generation Flux, Flux.
Okay.
And it said it's not a generational thing. It's that when people embrace the notion that we can't look over our shoulder into the last century where people worked for 25 years and got a gold watch and expect that it's going to be that way in the future.
Yeah.
Because the future, whether you're 62 years old or 22 years old, means that you really have a work life that's really much akin to what a bumblebee or a hummingbird has. You go to a job, you get hired, you suck up everything that you can from that business, the experience, the people interaction, and you parlay that into a better job at the next place. And there you stay 4 years, then you do the same thing like a vampire. You suck the life out of that company. You give them value for your effort, but you learn something else. And the amalgamation of what you learn over the course of 10 years in 3 jobs is the new flux that people are in. So in defense of the 20-something that's saying, if that's the ethos that is about work, there is no gold watch. And employers have now amended their style. They onboard you, they give you training, but they're not hell-bent on keeping you for 10 or 15 years anymore. They know that that's not what they're going to get. So they have bench strength always ready to come and fill your seat as they know you're going off to the next thing. So if you're 20-something and you know that that's what's going on in the world, then being a solopreneur is just as dynamic. So that's taking the opposite position. So you guys, what do you think?
No, I mean, it wasn't really, I mean, it's not an opposite position, because what I wanted to continue and tell was actually that, you know, I am against, I mean, when you're reading these things about entrepreneurship, etc., it's like, you know, the good and cool guys are the entrepreneurs, and the ones who work in the corporate are like, you know, these lousy, lazy, and, you know, losers who prefer to sell their souls to.
They can't do anything else. They can't be unicorns.
Yeah. So what I meant was that, you know, this other part and the entrepreneurship and all these cool things and the hard work, because I mean, entrepreneurs are people who are willing to work 80 hours for themselves instead of 40 hours for someone else, plus giving up the stability. So it's not really this rosy, nice thing. It's a complex thing. It's not like, you know, it's not the beach thing. It's something else. So what I meant was that there are people who make the choice of working in corporate their whole life, and maybe that is what fits their personality better. Maybe that's where they feel comfortable, and maybe it's not like they are losing, but they're consciously making the decision of doing what is right and better for them and for their life choices. So it's not really like, you know, they want to, but they can't. There are many who don't even want to.
But isn't Pete saying something different, that when you've never had an experience within the enterprise, and 2 years does not equate to having an experience in corporate life? It means that you got on board it, you worked for a little while and decided you didn't like it. And maybe it was just a bad employer. Maybe the culture was the wrong kind of culture. Maybe you should have gone to work at X company, not Y company.
Yeah, absolutely.
There are things that you can't learn as an entrepreneur, that when you're mashed up with 5,000 other people that are all competing to rise up in the organization, that dynamic does give you some perspective on many things. You know, you have a chance to be an employee, you have a chance to be a leader, you have a chance to be part of a team, you have a chance to do many things that you never get a chance to do as a solopreneur, unless you grow your business to be an owner of a company with 15 employees, which is still different than being on a team of 15 in a company of 5,000, which, yeah.
So, I mean, you mentioned also something that is like really, it was funny because it was almost the same timing when we had this food story for the Amazon best-selling book. I don't know. Do you know this story, Pete?
That one, no, I don't.
Okay, so I mean, you mentioned these Amazon bestsellers, which have nothing to do with good quality writing. Mm-hmm. And we had a separate blog on this where we discussed this with Art. That's why he's laughing. So actually, approximately about the same time when your post blew up,
right.
few days before that, another thing blew up, which was about about a guy. I don't remember his name because I've got an interview with him and then he forgot about that and then we never rescheduled. So I wanted to interview him about this. He was, I guess, as angry as you were about everything that was going on, but specifically in the Amazon business and self-publishing. So what he did was he did an experiment to prove that literally anything can become an Amazon best-selling book. So he took a photo of his foot on a carpet.
I have seen that now that you mention it.
Yeah, so he's barefoot on a carpet. He created a cover from it. In the description of the book, he said, "This is a book about my foot," and something else. And then inside, he had the photo of his foot. So he uploaded everything. He found a category where, there is a way to calculate that. So it's pretty easy to calculate that, where by selling only 3 copies, you become number 1 in that category of Amazon. So he texted few of his friends. 2 of his friends bought the book. He bought the book too. And he got this Amazon badge saying number 1 Amazon best-selling author. And that book became Amazon bestseller, which wasn't even a book. So he wrote this post about the whole experiment and, how fake all this was and that people who didn't understand this by this example now can realize what it really is. And eventually, once it all blew up, this is the continuation of the story, what happened next. Amazon realized that, they are not controlling things that well. And they actually took this book off because it wasn't a book. But what they did later on, I think it's as a result of this, but I'm not sure. But, a few weeks after that, many authors were panicking because Amazon started strictly monitoring the things. So they found many books which were against their regulations and rules and stuff like that. And once they found a book, they were not only taking the book out, they were banning the whole author account with all their books. And so when they took this book out from the guy with the foot, the guy actually received a publishing deal from another publisher who was asking him to write a book about this whole thing and, all that stuff. So I think he's got a traditional publishing deal now because of this whole experiment and the blog post.
Wow.
But the experiment sort of, showed exactly what you mean, that the book and what it contains and what quality it has nothing to do about being a bestseller on Amazon. I mean, literally anything can become an Amazon bestseller by selling 2 or 3 copies one day and that's it.
So he hacked the algorithm on Amazon for being a bestseller by creating a book about a naked foot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's very easy to hack because Amazon has its sales rankings, which is public. Every book has its own sales rankings, which everyone can check out. And there is a free tool that one of my friends did for his website, kindlepreneur.com, where it's a calculator, basically. You just plug in the Amazon ranking, and it calculates approximately how many copies per day have been sold of that book. So what you're doing is you're tracking down very, very small categories. You see the number 1 book there. You calculate how much it's selling. If it's a very small number, like 5 or 6 or 4 or 3, then it means, even if your book is not relevant to the category, because Amazon is not checking that. So you can write something which has nothing to do with, let's say, I don't know, some type of engineering. But since that engineering niche is very small and it needs only 2 sales, you can put your book about diet in there and get the number 1 best-selling category by selling 2 copies. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'm actually hesitant to blame Amazon for this because I think all this has happened because you've got all these podcasts with all these people names escape me right now, but I've heard a few, and they tell you exactly how to game Amazon. There's a billion articles on it as well.
You know how much they are charging for online courses to teach you that?
Yeah, so there's online courses, there's people just doing articles about it, and all of them are telling you, hey, do this, do that, none of which includes writing a good book, I've noticed. But I think it's all to do with everyone trying to sell their crap, basically. I don't think it's Amazon's fault. I don't think they expected this to happen, to be honest.
Yeah, there is a guy, actually. I'm not going to name him, but many know him because he's very popular in the self-publishing courses and stuff like that. So he has a course where he specifically teaches people how to make passive income from Kindle. And his model represents the following. You hire very cheap ghostwriters from India and Philippines and other places. You specifically choose a niche and do a research which sells well, like the topics which sell well. You get that categories which are where you can rank better. You outsource these ghostwriters. You use a pen name, of course, because it's a complete crap, so you wouldn't like to have your name in that. But because you do a quantity, like you are publishing 50, 60, you're making a full-time, I knew a person who was making $4,500 with 30 books on Amazon, and she hadn't written a single word in those books.
Wow.
Stable income of $4,500 every month coming in. And this guy was teaching people to do that. So it was multiplying. He was creating this incubator of, crop producers over and over again. So, yeah.
I'd be curious to see what her income is now, because Amazon's obviously introduced that system where it's based on how many pages of your book are read now rather than just raw sales. So if you're publishing garbage like that, odds are people are going to read the first page and that's it.
Yeah. Now this all his students are suffering right now, so they have to find another way to do another thing. But yeah,
that's too funny. Look, I love the conversation. I've got a blab starting in 20-some minutes, so I've got to go. But Pete, I am so happy I met you and your irreverent style of writing. I love it, and I would only expect that Annie would know you because Annie knows all the cool guys. So.
Yeah, I don't know what's that about this, but you said the right word, guys, because I was looking in my backtrack of interviews I've done, and there's so few women there, like, I don't know, 10%, 20 max. So yeah.
Cool. Okay, guys, we'll see you. Bye.
Okay,
thanks, man. Bye.
Okay, so tell me what happens now once you've written that and you've got all these feedbacks. We know the feedback about the people who are kind of thinking like us. What about the other side? How they are defending their side when in the comments and such.
Yeah. So. As you'd expect, the people that really didn't like it were generally the target crowd, so 20-something-year-olds. And looking at most of them, there weren't that many that disagreed, to be honest. But the ones that did, there were a couple that were lifestyle entrepreneurs with names like digital nomads, stuff like that. And there were a couple of older people saying, this is just the younger generation trying to find their feet, that kind of thing. And look, I do agree with that to an extent, I think everyone feels, and reading back over it, I can understand it seems like a real attack piece. But like I said, when I wrote it, it was just me sort of just having some fun. And because if I edit stuff like that, if I really edit it, then I probably would never even publish it. Because I'd be going back and forth saying, I'm not being fair here and I need to do this. I wouldn't have even published it. So Yeah, I did get attacked quite a few times. There were some posts that just disagreed, but there were some posts that flat out told me, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read. You're a bitter and angry man. My favorite was, just because you've got 2 crying kids, you can't pay the bills and you've given up on your dreams. That was my favorite. Yeah, basically all making a lot of assumptions that, of course, weren't true.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Just two days ago, I issued an interview, which I did with Tim Knox. He's an author and publisher, with whom, I mean, usually my podcast is kind of, inspiring and encouraging writers. And we talk about nice stuff and about keeping the motivation, not giving up, and, all that stuff. And usually we talk about different success stories, so they can see that these people were in their shoes a few years ago, and they did it by themselves. It's possible, it may be done, and stuff like that. So this latest interview was completely different. We ended up talking about stuff like, don't get these unrealistic expectations, don't get illusions, even the best writers these days, if, from the past, if they didn't market their books, most probably we wouldn't hear about them. These days, writing doesn't play a big role in how well the books sell, and, all that part of the thing. And it happened at the end, I was like, yeah, but I'm usually doing inspirational podcasts. What's happening? We sort of dug into this, dark part. And then and he said, well, sorry, I didn't mean to. And I said, no, periodically one needs to get back to the reality, and one needs to sort of, to get realistic about things in order to avoid the disappointments later on. Because I mean, there are many people who hear all these stories, and I think that, all they need to do is write a book and just drop it on Amazon, and then, they will be living happily ever after. And we all know that that's not the case. So it's not only, I mean, now these days, even writing a good book is not enough. You have to do so much more after that. So it's, and I guess what you did with this post is the similar effect. You basically said, look, everything looks very nice, but it actually is not. So let's get back to reality. All these pictures and all these images you're getting are exaggerated. It's not the case, and it doesn't happen so easy, and and all that stuff. So I guess that's why it made people mad about this, because no one wants to hear that what they are trying to achieve, or where they want to go, isn't so nice and rosy after all, because it's supposed to be like that, because that's their dream, because that's what they want to achieve. So no one is talking about, I mean, I always sort of, when we discuss these things with my husband, he says, okay, you always have these nice success stories, but how many along with that story have failed? Exactly. We never talk about that part. So, and when we are talking only about one side of the story, then everyone thinks that that's the only possible outcome. So, all you need is try, all you need is not to give up, and all you need is to keep on doing that. And the problem is, I mean, I'm asking this on my podcast very often, is, okay, let's see. Where do you realize, how do you distinguish things don't work because you're doing something wrong, or because the time hasn't come yet and you have to push forwards a bit more? Like, where is this point? How do you know whether you're doing, you have to keep going because you're doing the right thing, simply it's not there yet? Or maybe you're doing the wrong thing and you keep pushing and pushing, but since it's the wrong thing, you're going completely somewhere else and you're not reaching where you want to be. So it's very difficult. I don't know. I mean, do you have the answers? How do you distinguish that?
I wish I had the answers. I think that's the problem with the relentless optimism. Because one of the sites I used to write for, I don't anymore, was Addicted to Success. And it's all, success. Just keep working, just keep pushing. You're not there yet because you haven't tried hard enough. You haven't analysed your market well enough. You haven't done this. You haven't done that. And it's all about, if you just keep pushing for it, you'll get there. And it's such a dangerous message to be sending, along with, all the success stories, because I know people like this. You start to question, is there something wrong with me? What am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
I'm a smart guy. Why isn't this working for me? I know someone who, at the company he's working for in sales, earns over 200 grand a year. And he's been trying to do this whole lifestyle entrepreneurship on the side as well. And he can't make it work. And he's saying, is there something wrong with me? How are these people doing so well? And I said, well, if you really think about it, half of them are probably full of crap about exactly how much they're earning and how much they're putting into it.
Oh, yeah, that's another part of it, yeah.
Everyone exaggerates, how well they're doing out of these things because you don't want to be seen as a failure, of course. And I said, the proof of your ability is what you're making in your job. You're trying to jump into a market that's totally saturated, so it's not your fault. And as far as when do you keep pushing, when do you stop? I mean, I have come to that point myself so many times. You just get, all writers understand, you get frustrated, no one's reading my work. Why isn't anything happening? Even your friends don't read your work, your family doesn't read your work, and you think, is it because, my friends and family suck? Is it because I suck? And you get so neurotic about it. And this is just me. I realized, do I enjoy writing? Yes. Well, write what you want to write, and maybe people will read it, maybe people won't, because that's the reality we've all got to deal with. Everyone's talking about finding your unique voice and all that kind of thing. People might not want to hear your unique voice.
Well, I mean, I think that's very easy to figure out, because I always tell people on different occasions, to writers while they are writing their books, to podcasters who are starting their own shows, and different other people. Actually, when they're trying to differentiate, and I'm like, it's so easy, just be yourself, because no one is like you. So you don't have to invent your voice. You don't have to look for it. It's your voice. You just act like you are in real life, and then it will be already a differentiator, because no one is like you. So you just end up doing, and I guess the thing is that many people go too deep into things. They want to be perfect in what they are doing, and they want to look nice with the image they are creating, the public image, because they want to avoid this possibility that someone will come and start criticizing you, which is what will always happen if you're putting out something that you've done. So if you are putting, even if you're not a public figure, even if you don't have a podcast, even if you're not writing a book, just by putting your profile picture on a Facebook is enough to get a chance to be criticized. And it's okay. It's normal, because it doesn't mean that you have to avoid being somewhere, because even by, just putting on your clothes and going out to grocery shops to buy products and get back home, you always have this chance. I mean, what is the solution? You have to close yourself in a house and just so no one sees you? It's like the human nature that happens. Everyone is going to criticize the others, so it doesn't really matter that much. But what matters is that at the end, if you are sincere and you are yourself, you will end up with people around you who accept and like you the way you are. And then it's so much easier. You will write whatever you want to write, whatever you like writing, whatever is about you. And then people who resonate with them will stay around, and then you will end up with an audience who is like-minded and with whom you also will enjoy engaging, and that's when it will start rolling. So it's all about kind of authenticity. It's all about genuine relationships and keeping in touch with your audience. I mean, I'm like, I don't know, maybe sometimes some people kind of, feel that it's crazy, but because my friend list is becoming larger and larger and I can't control it anymore at some point, I periodically go back, look at the people who are online and with whom I never connected before. And I just connect with them to find out who they are, why they friended me, how did they discover who they are in general, because I want to know who my audience is. Because by knowing them, I will make sure that they are kind of, they get what they're looking for. So
yeah, and I think what you were saying, I really get that, because I think one of the big issues at the moment is this whole concept of a personal brand, and people take the whole personal brand thing not to be about who you are and what you want to write. It's about how you look. So everyone is trying to look perfect. Everyone is trying to look ultra successful, even if they're hanging in their parents' basement and all they can afford is pizza pockets, which turns everything, whether it's writing, whether it's podcasting, it turns everything into this vanilla ice cream, homogenized, boring, just tidal wave, which is why I think my post blew up so much, because, everything's sort of, 10 ways to get the most out of your morning routine, 5 ways that you can be happy about life. It's all so touchy-feely and airy-fairy, and everyone's just trying to look good rather than write something. So when someone comes along and says, hey, you're all full of shit, people all of a sudden, it's like the authenticity bell goes off in their heads and they're like, oh, this is something real for once.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why James Altucher, whom you mentioned before, does so well, because he's out there. I mean, I interviewed him a while ago, and after the interview, we sort of kept in touch periodically. We were having conversations, and specifically conversations about writing and different things like that. So he was saying, like, go out there naked and just, open up, like, be as raw as you can when you are writing. And that's what he's doing. And when you are reading his stuff, he's not about success, although he's very successful, but he's not about success. What he writes about very vulnerable, very raw, and very painful.
Yeah.
And it resonates, because there are many people who at some point in their lives felt the same, but only he can actually get this courage and say this loud and talk about this and use his own personal stories, because he touches things that we usually prefer not to talk about, even with closest friends. So and I guess that's why, first of all, it's very personal. It resonates with many people because at some point it happened to us as well. And second, it's not something they can talk about with anyone else. So if someone is talking about this instead of them, and they just read and see that they are not the only ones, because if it's a topic that is not talked about, you may think that, it happened only to yourself, and, it's you may not even be able to discuss this. And here there is a person who is very successful, who is very well known, and he says that this happened to him too. And I guess that's the big effect that he's having periodically with all his stuff that he's putting out there on daily basis.
Yeah, I mean, and we're all, I say we, it's not really correct. So many people are trying to look perfect all the time. And I used to do it too when I was a bit younger. And so you don't tell your friends the inner struggles. The fact that, after I left the army, I've written about this. I was in a black hole of depression for like 3 months. And it took me years to say that to anyone, because everyone will think I'm a loser, Yeah. When the reality is, so many people have lost jobs. So many people have lost their identity when that sort of thing has happened. And when you stop worrying about putting up this perfect facade, all of a sudden you're giving all these other people permission that, hey, you don't have to keep up this facade either. And seriously, I think that sort of authenticity in life, not just in your writing, but in your life itself, is one of the most precious gifts you can have. Which is why I feel not sorry, but I feel like a lot of young lifestyle entrepreneurs are doing themselves a disservice by having to constantly be perfect. I feel like a lot of them are going to have a breakdown or something, in a few years' time. Actually, I wrote an article about that for the Good Men Project. I think it was called Unrealistic Expectations, Startups, Young Men and Suicide. And it was about the fact that, once upon a time, a lot of men would commit suicide like after a big recession or something because they all lost their jobs and they couldn't provide for their families and they couldn't handle the shame of it. Whereas I think in a few years' time, we're going to have another wave like that, another wave of suicides and it's going to be even worse because it'll be because I wasn't successful. All these other people made it as a lifestyle entrepreneur, even though they didn't. But because everyone thinks they did, I'm the only one that didn't make it. I suck. I suck at life basically because I couldn't make this work. And I think it's going to end up pretty badly. I hope it doesn't. I hope I'm wrong. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think by being authentic, you're basically doing yourself a favor because you no longer need to pretend, and it's very liberating. Just you don't have to remember what kind of image. I mean, even on Facebook, when you're looking at your timeline, everyone seems so happy. When it's everyone looks happy, everyone looks pretty. I mean, I never see the pictures of people who just woke up because it's not pretty and they don't post it on Facebook. But then you end up, if you're having a low times, if you having some problems, you end up thinking that you're the only one because everyone there is so happy. Everyone is having a good time. Everyone looks perfect. I mean, they are choosing their best photos and putting out there, and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, compared to them, I'm really ugly and stuff. So it's really sort of, giving you the wrong impressions about the reality. And it doesn't do you good in that respect. Because
Yeah, and I think it's because at this point in time, success is like the new ideal. So, back in the 50s, it was conformity, it was fitting in. It was about having family values. If you were a good neighbor, all that kind of thing, that was what made you a good person. In the 70s, it was either you were a counterculture person and you were part of the movement, or you were part of the establishment and you fit in either side of that. And that's what made you a good person. Whereas now it's like, we hold up Elon Musk, Tim Ferriss, Peter Thiel, Steve Jobs. These people are like our gods, and being successful is the new thing. And being an entrepreneur, it's like it's the thing again. Back when I was graduating high school in 1998, it was being in IT. Everyone wanted to go into IT. Back in the 80s, it was finance. Everyone wanted to go into Wall Street. Whereas now it's all about being uber successful and being an entrepreneur because, hey, if you're an entrepreneur, you're basically, you're creating fire. And so it's less about people wanting to do things and more about wanting to be something. I want to be an entrepreneur. And it's, you start thinking, well, okay, you want to be an entrepreneur. Do you actually enjoy doing that kind of thing? Do you know anything about it? Because Elon Musk didn't want to be a billionaire or an entrepreneur. He had an insane drive to get people to Mars. And that's why he's a billionaire. It's got nothing to do with him wanting to be an entrepreneur.
Well,
same thing with... Sorry,
well, exactly. I mean, I was just wondering, I mean, you mentioned names like Elon Musk and Steve Jobs who actually got where they are, I think, because they were obsessed about their vision and about their idea. And because of this obsession, you know, when you're looking at their autobiographies and the lives they led, that obsession has been their top priority, which sort of led them into being very successful in that respect. But at some point being, you know, not being good fathers, not being good husbands, not being, you know, doing ethically incorrect things because they were driven with one thing. So for them, since it was the priority, all the rest was becoming, you know, and which is good because that was their choice and they've got where they wanted to be and they were successful, not because they made six figures, not because they were like in these high positions and they changed many things, but because that was their priority. That's where they themselves wanted to get, and they've got there, not because we view them like this. So an Amazing Me movement mentions in the comments that success means many different things, yet people think that it's making six figures and being better than the next guy. And I totally agree with them, because I wrote an article once about the success in general. I don't remember how I phrased it, but the idea was that we talk about success in terms of figures and in terms of career growth. I wrote that when I actually left my career, and about career growth and stuff like that. But no one talks about success when we see a single mother who raised really amazing 3 kids, for example. No one talks about success when we see someone who is really in harmony with himself and very happy, but still poor financially. So it's always kind of, you know, this success factor. It does mean many different things to many different people. And I guess even some successful people who we think are successful may not, because they are not happy, although they are making these 6 figures. And then it means that, you know, it's not a success if you're not where you want to be, even though you're making money. It's not really where you know, it's not your success. It's the success in the eyes of other people.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually writing about this right now. I don't like how we've, you know, you have the word success, and something can either be a success or a failure. So success is just describing the result of something. So that meeting was a success. That product launch was a success. That house we built was a success. But all of a sudden now it's merged into being successful. And being successful isn't a result. That's like a state of being. So everyone wants to be successful, but we don't even know what the hell that means. So, okay, I'm a successful author, but what does that mean? Does that mean I have an Amazon bestseller, which has sold 3 copies? Does that mean I have to be selling 100,000 copies? And at what point after that am I not successful anymore, if that makes sense? It's sort of like this impossible standard, and yet it's the norm right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now being an entrepreneur is the new criteria of success, I guess. That's you know, the stereotype people are imposing on you, which is not right, because, you know, that's not really something everyone wants to be. So for those who don't want to be, it has no meaning whatsoever. I mean, when like recently I was just following Gary Vaynerchuk's videos where he shares his whole day to show people that, you know, it's not really sipping cocktails all the time, and to show his exact day and what he's doing and how many long hours he's working in a day. And, you know, what, you know, that he's out of the office, that he's hustling, and then, you know, he's coming home late when it's very dark and stuff like that. So they see the real picture of what being an entrepreneur really means. And, you know, that may be something that someone really loves and would like to do and would like to be in his shoes. But there may be another person who's like, you know, I don't want to work so much. I don't, you know, I just want to I don't want to make millions, but I don't also want to be in the office when it's 11 p.m. I just don't want that. And then for this person's choice, working full-time somewhere and then balancing the thing and being home at 6 p.m., 6:30 p.m. is the right choice, because that dream that everyone is imposing is not his dream. He prefers something else. He prefers watching a TV and sipping a beer in the evening at home, calmly, without, hustling, without running anywhere, and without, thinking about where to invest his millions. And he's happy. So you can't really kind of, decide that one thing fits all and everyone should do something. And even for the same person, I think, what he needs at that certain moment or what he wants to achieve may be different at some point. I mean, about 10 years ago, I really wanted a career, and I was in corporate and I was doing big projects, and I was pretty happy. I mean, I've got my dream job, which later on became a horrifying experience, and which I left later on thinking that I will never want to get a job anymore. But that was the same person in two different stages in her life, realizing different things and wanting and choosing different things. So even the same person can have different opinions about the same subject.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the problem, especially with lifestyle entrepreneurship, is the guys at the top. Like when I think of that, I think of obviously Tim Ferriss. He's number one name that pops into my head. I think of Lewis Howes because he's doing similar-ish things. Those are the first two names that come to mind. And if you look at what they actually do, they both work so hard. Well, assuming you believe what they're saying about how much they work, which, to be honest, I do. So I'm still actually trying to work out where this idea of easy passive income came from, because these guys are making passive income, but it took a hell of a lot of work to actually make that happen. So how is that actually passive income? If you spend 3 years writing a book and selling it and pushing it, that's not passive income. That's working for a living.
Well, yeah, it's more like, getting the results and reaping the fruit from what you sow later on. I mean, many years ago. So it's like a cumulative effect of what you've been doing consistently over years, day and day, one after another. And it's, now it's the time, and now you're getting the results. So now maybe you're not working so much anymore, but you did when you needed to. So it's not really like, it came as a present. It came out of the blue, and you were the lucky one who just woke up and had everything coming to you. So, Kamari says that Tim Ferriss openly admits that he doesn't work 4 hours a week.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I know when he was filming... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I know when he was filming his TV show, The Tim Ferriss Project, he said they were doing like 18-hour days for 10 weeks straight. That's why I'm a little confused. Like the top guys of lifestyle design are actually not living lifestyle design. So I'm wondering what salesman got involved and started selling this dream to people that it was all just, beers on a beach, while you write a little bit here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, So Kamari asks, aren't most successful, maybe it should be most successful business people obsessed with their businesses? Is that it?
Yeah, well, I think most successful people are obsessed with whatever they're doing, whether that be a writer, whether it be whatever. It's not even just business people. If you want to be, what you consider to be successful, you have to be obsessed.
Well, exactly. I mean, when I had my interview with Chris Brogan, we spoke about excuses and how people's most common excuse is not having time. And he told me, like, what do you mean? I mean, he said, I'm always telling people we all have the equal 24 hours a day. And it's all about prioritizing and about what we do with these 24 hours. So if for these successful people, business has been the top priority, it's logical that they invested most of their time on that and all the rest came after. And if you don't have the priorities, or if you have a priority to watch a reality show instead, then that's what you're getting as a result. That's okay.
Yeah.
But then you shouldn't complain that you watched the reality TV and you didn't get the success instead because someone else did that instead of you, and he got your success. Because no, it's just it's very logical. I think things are pretty fair. I haven't seen a successful person who has been doing nothing in order to become successful and it just hit him out of the blue. Unless you won a lottery, the others sort of, they did something. So, the people I hate most are those who didn't do anything, but still complained about having poor results. Those are like, I don't really see the logic of the thing. I mean, that's in their case, it's very fair, and I don't see any problem with that.
Yeah, it's people like that. I feel like they're caught between what they actually want out of life and what they think they want out of life. And everyone thinks they want to. Great example. I used to be in the army, and what I did in the army was fairly cruisy. I worked 12-hour shifts for a few days on and a few days off. When I was actually working, we'd get, an hour to go to the gym, that kind of thing. And I get out into the civilian world and I'm working for a Fortune 500 company. I've done 12, 14, 16-hour days. I don't mind because I love what I do. But all the people back when I was in the military, when I was there, they all talked about wanting to be super successful, wanting to, get out and make six figures and that kind of thing. But when I tell them now what I'm doing, some of them are like, geez, that doesn't sound that fun. That's a lot of work. And my thought was, well, how do you think you're going to make six figures, or how do you think you're going to be a high-powered business person? This doesn't just come. So I feel like a lot of people think they want something, but they don't realize what's involved to get it.
Well, I mean, just a simple example. I mean, it's been like a year ago, so I can talk about that. Before I didn't, but I interviewed Pat Flynn twice, and before the interview, I already had a certain relationship with him, so we were in touch and we had spoken, etc. And how I ended up with this, with him knowing me was he had and still has a Facebook group which is called Pat Flynn's First Kindle Book. And when he just opened that group, we were just few of us there, and it started growing. And since it's my niche and what I'm involved in, I was like pretty active there and giving out feedback and stuff like that. So he reached out to me saying that the group is growing. Can you help me out to be one of the admins of the group? So that's how we sort of started kind of connecting together. And when I interviewed him, everyone got back to me, oh, how did you get Pat Flynn on your show? Because it was relatively new. No one knew about that. But actually, what he told me, he's only available. I mean, I was back in Armenia. I was living in Armenia back then. And there was like 11-hour or something like that time difference between our zones. So what I had to do was I interviewed him at 3 a.m. at night. So, yes, it's nice to have a big name on your podcast, but I don't think everyone would do that. So it's always like, and when we spoke about this, he said, usually if you want to get what others don't have, or if you want to get somewhere where others are not, then you have to be willing to do things that others are not willing to do.
That's right.
So, and I think that's how people have have gotten to places like this. They've gone the extra mile, they've done the extra effort, they've spent the extra hour compared to the others. That's why they sort of went ahead and the others stayed. And you know, I hope so, because I want to believe in the fairness of what's happening, because otherwise it would be pretty bitter to think otherwise. But yeah, I guess that's it. So I had like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. interviews. And the biggest dilemma for me was not whether to do it or not, because I was saying yes. But the biggest thing was whether to sleep and wake up or to stay awake and do the interview and sleep. Because I always kind of, you know, if you sleep and then your voice will be sleepy and it's audio recording. If you don't, then you may be too sleepy to do really nice energetic stuff. So it's like, you know, you don't know which is best. But yeah, I had those. But I guess later, I believe that needed to be done, because later on many people said yes, most probably because they saw that Pat Flynn was there before them. So it's always nice for them to be next to, in the same show with Pat Flynn. And, you know, because now I have guests who are promoting our interviews with, like, you know, I've been in the same show as Pat Flynn and James Altucher and Chris Brogan. And so they're kind of, you know.
Yeah, of course.
Which is fun. I mean, I don't mind that, but it's like hijacking, you know, other efforts like that. But yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and I think, to be honest, over the next few years, writing is going to change a lot because of what you've just said, because it's about what you're willing to do, right? So if you want to be a successful writer, what are you willing to do that's going to get you above all the people that are writing, you know, listicles and clickbait headlines and all that kind of thing? What's going to differentiate you? Well, what's going to differentiate you is actually being a good writer, because I don't think there's too many out there right now. So I guess the question is, what do you really want? Do you want to be a good writer, or do you just want lots of page views? Because the page views are going to start drying up very quickly. I saw an article about kids that are in high school right now, and they're already very savvy. They can already tell a clickbait headline straight away, and they're on the internet, so they use the term clickbait. And they had a study where they showed them all these headlines, and they say, no, I'm not clicking that, that's just clickbait. So the question is, if you want to be what you'd consider a successful writer, whatever that is, are you willing to actually get better at writing, to work on your craft? Or are you just one of the people that wants easy page views?
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, there is another thing about the page views and the numbers and the statistics, actually, because what we don't realize very often is, and I'm one of them, because it periodically happens like that, you sometimes forget that behind these numbers, there are people, like real breathing people. Because it's always nice to see the graph and to see it growing and to see this big number and stuff like that, because it brings credibility, it gives you status, it sort of, it positions you somewhere in that social media part. But you forget that those are real people. And if you are bringing in your traffic and you are kind of, driving up your graph by SEO, where you sort of drive people in, they get in, they realize they are in the wrong place, and in a few seconds they leave. Those people are, it's not going to do you any good anyway. So it's a nice graph. It will boost your ego. But eventually, as a long-term result, it's not giving you anything.
Yeah, I wrote an article that I put on StumbleUpon, I think it was last year. And I was amazed because, I wake up the next morning and it's had 15,000 page views. And I jump on my analytics real time and there's like 100 people on my site at once. I'm like, wow, I was freaking out. This is amazing. And then after everything was said and done, I went back to my analytics and had a look. And there was 25,000 views, which I was like, hey, awesome. The bounce rate was 99%. and the time reading the article was 10 seconds, the average time. And I thought, okay, 20,000 page views, what was the point of that? And then I look at my recent work on Medium, and it's not only high page views, but lots of people responding and lots of people recommending. And I think the problem is that page views has been held up as a big metric for a long time. Well, what you really want as a writer is engagement. You want people to either love your ideas or hate your ideas. You want a response. I think we talked about this the other night. You want some kind of a response. Otherwise, someone just looking at your work, well, what does that mean? I've read heaps of papers here, and I'll skim an article. That doesn't mean I like it or I even care about it. It's when you write something that evokes a response. That's what you're after.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all about, I don't know. I mean, we covered all this. I'm just trying to conclude and sort of wrap things up. But basically, it's I'm looking at the topic here, and we sort of talk about everything besides the first thing, going viral. So your post went viral. What happened? What did it give you? Did it lead to something else, or besides all these comments and all these polarized views, what else did it bring to you?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't checked my Kindle stats in the last few days, but I don't think they've gone off the charts or anything. I've had a couple of people contact me by email, which is nice. Because that's an extra level of engagement, someone taking the time to send an email. But as far as what's it gotten me, not much. I mean, I think a lot of people expect that if you write a viral post that your whole life's going to change, that you're going to have book publishers knocking down your door and everyone's going to want a piece of you. It's, all it is that I tapped into something that a lot of people were feeling, I guess. And in a way that resonated with them, and that's kind of it. To be fair, I did go from on Medium 30 followers to I think I'm almost at 1,200 followers now, and that was within the space of 3 days. Over 1,000 extra followers. So a lot more people are looking at my work. I guess that's the biggest thing that's come out of it.
Okay. Well, that's still not bad, actually.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I wasn't expecting it to go viral in the first place, and I certainly wasn't expecting endless riches and book deals out of it either. So, I just write what I want to write, and whatever happens, happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just it's always sort of. The way you wrote that, it was, I mean, not everyone writes like that. So it's kind of stood out besides the message, also like the style in a way, because it was like, I don't know if they called it angry or harsh, but it was pretty kind of, without any sweeteners, without being politically correct, without this, nice preparatory, phrases to sort of, to prepare people that, okay, now this is coming, watch this. So it's many people are very cautious about what they say, about how they say it, and about what words they use. So it felt like, I don't know, when I was reading it, it felt like you just sat down, you typed it off in 10-15 minutes, and you just hit publish. And that was like what I was thinking that happened, because it felt like really
that's what happened. It was just raw. It was just I've got something to say, I'm going to say it, and that's it, compared to all the other stuff that I write that takes weeks, and a piece I put out yesterday I've sat on for 3 months. That's how I normally write. So every now and again, it's just like the gloves come off, the filter comes off, and it's bang, here's what I think, Agree, disagree, I don't care.
Yeah, well, it's in any case, it's sort of, as Art mentioned, it's different, so it stands out, and it's I mean, I say this very often. Many people get offended, but I'm gonna say it again. No, it's okay that we're recording, but many people are stupid. So when someone, it's the fact. That's So those who are not, it's always kind of, we are looking for those who are not, because it's always so much sort of, since they are not many, it always easy to differentiate, and it stands out. So it's the same with books and with self-publishing and within Kindle books. I mean, I spend loads of time researching and asking people to give recommendations, because especially in fiction, good books are very few. There aren't many. Non-fiction is the same thing, but in non-fiction, at least you end up periodically getting all these messages about new books. You get the feedback. You know how to choose the good from bad approximately before even. With fiction, it's more difficult, and it's always, and it's the same with blog posts and with podcasts and with the things that have really low entry barrier, where everyone can actually create content the way he wants. You end up having with this, mass generalization of people not being very intellectually advanced. That's the content you're getting. I mean, grayish. So,
vanilla.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that's why. Which is good, actually, because otherwise everyone would be the same. So it's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's not so much about trying to stand out consciously, because I wasn't trying to stand out with that article. It's sort of just be yourself, because most people aren't being themselves. They're just trying to be what everyone thinks they want them to be, which, what's the point of that?
Well, it maybe in some way it makes life easier, because as opposed to you, they are not getting these comments and this very extreme negative feedback about what they've done, which is sort of, maybe it makes them feel better, because they only get the positive and the appraisals and the acknowledgements and stuff like that. So they're kind of, boosting their ego that way, which is artificial, but it's still, if they are happy with that, then it works for them.
Yeah, if that's what you want, go for it.
Okay, well, it was really nice talking to you. I want to thank those who stayed from the beginning till the end, because in the beginning we kind of, we challenged their patience. So I'm happy it worked out. So we will have the replay. I will share you the link of the replay for those who would like to watch it later on. So well, thanks a lot. It's morning there, right? Is it?
It is. Yep, 9:30 in the morning.
Okay, so I'm wrapping up my day over here already, and I wish you a good day ahead, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you very much, Annie. I had a great time.
Take care.
Speak soon. Bye.